Testing, testing. So this is very directional. So when the red light's on, that means it's on, and you just hit the you basically have to talk right into it.
find our way to our seats. Don't rush. I'd like to call this evening's Board of Education meeting on Monday, September 26, 2022 to order at 7:02 p.m. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Moving right along, there was no action taken in closed session this evening. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Rukshan, for moving and Ms. Borg for seconding. Welcome, everyone, this evening. We're happy to have everyone here with us. You'll notice that Mrs. Merkley is absent this evening. Everyone else is present. We're going to move right along to something that's a lot of fun. We are going to welcome our representative from Whitcomb High School this evening. Josh, is it Medal or Meadle? Medell. I didn't even get that one. Thank you very much. I'm going to have you step up front to the microphone, and I'm going to deliver your oath of office and swear you in as our student board representative for this year.
All right. Okay.
All right. Raise your right hand, please. I state your name.
I, Joshua Medell,
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Yep. Solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
and defend
and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of California
of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
that
I will bear true faith
and allegiance
to the Constitution
to the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of California,
of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and that I will well
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties upon
the duties upon
which I am about to enter.
which I am about to enter.
There you go. Well done.
Thank you.
Welcome, Josh. We're really happy to have you. Okay, moving right along to our favorite part, the board recognition. And tonight we're going to be recognizing our National Merit Scholarship Program semifinalists at Glendora High School. Can I ask Dr. Brummett to come on up, please?
All good. Well, good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent DeGrazia, members of Cabinet, and esteemed community. In the annual National Merit Scholarship Program, about 50,000 academically talented high school students are honored, but only 16,000 of them are named semifinalists. Students who qualify as semifinalists based on their performance on the PSAT, otherwise known as the preliminary SAT, and they're the only program participants who have the opportunity to advance to the finalist level and compete for national merit scholarships. Semifinalists are the highest scores in each of the 50 states and represent less than 1% of each state's high school seniors. Although semifinalists' qualifying scores vary from one state to another, the scores of all semifinalists are extremely high. Claire Liu represents Glendora High School as a National Merit Scholarship Program semifinalist, and we could not be more proud. Claire maintains an impressive 4.68 GPA and is currently taking 5 AP classes, which brings her total AP courses taken up to 12. Claire's success as a student expands into extracurricular activities. Just to name a few, Claire has won the Rotary Speech Contest, the Access Speech Contest, and she participates in the Royal Stewarts at GHS. You could add National Merit Scholarship semifinalists to the list. Claire, congratulations. We're so proud of you. Come on up.
Don't go too far, Claire. Are there any board members that might like to say anything on behalf of the school board to Claire? Yeah.
Oh, Claire, amazing job. Congratulations and good luck with the rest of it. It's great to honor you tonight. Thanks for coming, and thank your family. We got to thank Mom and Dad too, because I know they're behind you,
Yeah, absolutely.
pushing all the way. Thank.
Is there anything that you would like to say? Is there anything you'd like to add? No? I don't want to put you on the spot. But if you're,
Oh, she won for.
I know, that's what I was going to say. She's got some,
No, but I just want to thank everybody at the staff, the teachers at Glendora High School, at Goddard, at Sellers, really everybody who supported me throughout this education journey here in Glendora. Very glad to have the support, and that's why I'm able to have this honor. And yeah, I'm very excited to continue my education journey in Glendora and beyond and bring it to the world.
well, on behalf of the board, we want to say congratulations and a job well done. You're representing our school district to the country very well, and we're all very proud of you. Thank you. Keep up the hard work, but have a little bit of fun, please,
I will.
in the remainder of your senior year. Promise us that. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Next up is the statement from the board president. I see a lot of familiar faces in here this evening, so I'm not going to read this statement word for word, but I think in the spirit, you all know that we're looking for courtesy to the speakers, that if things do get out of order, we will be forced to recess and then come back in. So I trust you all to behave appropriately, and I'm glad that you're all here. We're going to move on to public comment. I'll say the name of the person that will speak, and then I'll also say who's coming next, just so that we can keep the time flowing. I'll remind you all that there's a 3-minute time for everybody's comment, and there's a clock just over here to your left. Marco Villa is first, with Lenore Craig next.
Hi, my name is Marco Villa. Thank you for allowing me to speak here today. I have 3 minutes. I'm going to use those 3 minutes to personally to chide you, Zandra, but it's for something that I chide a lot of people for, so don't feel too bad. I understand recently that you were part of a Facebook group. I don't know too much of the details. I can ascertain some of them, but quite frankly, people say, oh, I saw this on Facebook. I kind of tune them out. I understand it blew up a bit. I'm not surprised. I killed my social media feed a long time ago. I couldn't stand the cowardice and the vitriol that I saw. I never looked back, man. Never really felt much. Never felt I needed it. I felt a lot better after leaving. Social media today, I think, has been perverted by probably the lowest form of person that there is, if you can call it a person, the troll. I often say the troll is like lower than a whale dung at the bottom of the ocean, but when I tell my friends that, I use a different term. I got turned on by a friend of a quote that Mark Twain once said, and I'll paraphrase it a bit. Never argue with the troll. They will drag you down to their level and beat you with their experience. So I'm not surprised that you lost. I realized, though, that Mark Twain had read the Bible because it reminded me of a verse that I remember hearing when I was in church, and I had to look it up. If a wise man has an argument with the fool only rages and laughs, and there is no quiet. And there is a lot of noise on social media these days. Today, people are pushing social media as the new town square, when it's plain to see it's not. I've been to our town square, and people don't rant and rave at each other the way they do on social media. It's almost like the saying that corporations are people. When we know clearly they're not. They can't run for president. The Internet Research Agency is a branch of the Russian government, and they found a golden nugget in the troll. I sometimes wonder, maybe it's not our own neighbors, maybe it's Russian trolls, but I have a feeling that they probably are some of our neighbors. What Russia is trying to do, and what a lot of other countries are trying to do, China included, is they're trying to divide us, because we're a very strong nation. I used to think that we would fight the Russians someday. I prepared as a kid to do that. I used to think that that's what I was going to do. Maybe someday I will. I thought they were a formidable enemy, but from what I see in Ukraine, I can see that they're not. So how are they going to beat us? By dividing us. Right now, we actually do hear the words civil war passed around quite seriously, not just as a joke, but seriously. And more Americans died in the last civil war we fought with each other than in any wars since. And that was when our population was far less. So I'll leave you with this. There's been a lot of talk about banning books and the classics. And quite frankly, I think that we would be more successful as a city if I drove by the school and I saw children with their noses in those books, in the classics, instead of on their phones, on social media, getting mental illness, which is a big problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Villa. As I mentioned, Lenore Craig is next, and then Anne Marie Loy after.
Good evening. This is going to be very short. I'm going to talk about the Community Committee for Ethnic Studies that was formed in February. You had interviews and all of that. They applied, but we've not heard a thing about it. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm making a formal request asking for the status update of that. How's it going? What's being discussed? Who's on the committee? What are the objectives? Is there any progress? How many meetings have they had? You know, just general stuff, since we have not heard a thing. So I am asking for you to look into that, maybe have a representative to come and share with the community the progress on that. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Craig. As I mentioned, Anne Marie Loy, and then Victoria Gonzalez after.
Good evening. My name is Anne Marie, and I am here to address statements that were made at the last school board meeting by those who spoke. One by one, they came up here claiming to be so peaceful and wanting unity, crying, and trying to gain sympathy. Yet they stood up here lying and gaslighting the community. They were playing victim by accusing others of what they themselves have been guilty of. They even went as far as to say the children see emotions when making comments and name calling online. What they didn't tell you was they have been guilty of those very things, as evidenced by the comments made by them and all the people who liked and also commented furthering the division. For example, just some of the name calling done by them are knuckle dragger to a fireman, wackos, lunatics, trash for praying, we were trash for praying, unhinged loons, cult, cowards, and trolls. And those are just a few that we actually have proof of. So, not even 5 minutes after leaving last meeting, a fireman brought to my attention that a photo of his truck and trailer were posted on social media without his knowledge. Some of the executive team members who are on the social justice group on Facebook are also on this post, engaging and making fun of this fireman with his truck and trailer, calling him a knuckle dragger, when he's done nothing besides save lives to anyone except for showing support and helping Save Glendora Schools campaign, just like they are helping campaign for Zandra and Monica. Yet he gets attacked and mocked on social media for it. Where is the unity in that? What children saw that? What children heard those emotions? Since then, they have been going through their group pages and deleting everything that would show them to be the hypocrites they are. We will continue to expose their false narrative and rhetoric and their hypocrisy as long as it continues. There is a huge difference between unity amongst themselves and unity with everyone, which means all of us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Loy. Next is Victoria Gonzalez, and then Helen Glaze.
Good evening. I wasn't able to attend the last board meeting, and I'm hearing, thankfully so, since it was turned into a Zandra Bar campaign night. And I just want to know when the other candidates are going to have their campaign nights too, because I would like to come. But anyway, I'm up here for something completely different tonight. I'm up here because part of what Marco Villa talked about, part of what Anne Marie just talked about, this community has been so separated and segregated, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And, you know, I've come up here, I've brought proof, I've brought legitimate concerns to all of you. I've asked questions, I followed up, and everything that I have, I will reiterate, everything that I have proof of it. None of it's lies, none of it's made up, none of it is just an attack. I have proof of everything. So again, if anyone would like to see anything that I've brought up as a concern, you can let me know. And I'm happy to do that for you. But my concern is just seeing how this community is, gosh, for lack of a better word, on fire. It all started a couple years ago when you brought on Penny De Leon, and it started not immediately, just little by little, as things that she brought in separated the community, bringing up things as far as race is concerned and forming sides. And we stood up here and begged you guys not to extend her contract because we wanted to see how this played out, and you didn't listen to us. Now we're seeing 2 years later how it played out. Because she's not here anymore doesn't mean there's not an issue. It doesn't mean that everything is resolved and everything's going to be good and come. It's not. It's actually getting worse because, unfortunately, 2 sides have been formed. And you know, all this nice talk about unity, and that's nice talk up here, that's on record for the community to see, but off the record, when the cameras go off, lights turn off, and people leave, it's a whole different story. It's a war zone. Immediately posting about what was said, and I've been the topic of their posts many times. I have screenshots of people send to me, look at, you know, what's being said. You know, I've ignored it in the past, but I'm just getting really sick of it. Our kids, they're right. Our kids are in the middle of this. Our kids are being attacked at school, not only persons of color kids, Caucasian kids too. I'm not Caucasian, but I see this going on for all our kids. I see the injustice. I see the 2 sides for everything. I mean, not only that, our kids, there's a group of kids who you guys know have been photographed and put KKK and spread all over social media, but I haven't heard one of you say anything about that, condoning it or condemning it, saying anything, but you were so quick to do it when Glendora Forward asked you to. Why hasn't anyone said anything about these other students? I think they're equal, right? They should have the same respect. They should have the same backing from you guys that other students do, and they see this as well. So I'm asking, I know you guys aren't here to police the community, but if you would at least address it, say that you don't like it, try somehow to bring unity. That's all we need, but it starts with you guys, not with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Up next is Helen Glaze.
Well, I was going to read this, but I think I won't. So we'll see what happens. Thank you guys for letting me speak, and thank you all for speaking. And I hope I can get the attention of the ladies in the back of the room, you all. I hope I can get your attention because, yeah. No, I'm not talking about you. I want to offer something because I don't think you're totally wrong, right? I stood up there. I actually authored most of that statement because I actually believe it. Well, and I'm happy to talk to you about that, right? Whatever it is that you want to come, I welcome. Yeah, let me talk. I do welcome that, right? Because I can see that all the things that have happened have been very upsetting to you as they have to me, right? And I know that our side, because there are sides that have formed, right, hasn't been perfect, right? Just as your side hasn't been perfect, right? So I would ask for the respect for you to hear my words. That. Talking to the board, not to us. Well, because we're talking about our community, right? Address the board. That's what you're here for. Right. Fair enough. I'd be happy to talk to the board. So one thing that I hope happens out of all of these meetings, right, is we don't want to burden you all with our community contest out here. But I do think it's important that just like we want you to hear what we have to say, that I hope that as a community we can hear what we have to say. And all of us, board included, acknowledge when we've made mistakes, right? And be ready to correct them and be sort of courageous about sometimes saying we were wrong. And I guess that's all I'll say. I'll save my other comments for next time.
Thank you, Ms. Glaze. Those are all of our public comments for this evening. We're going to move along to our oral reports, and we're going to ask Josh to please bring us up to speed on the student board member report.
Again, thank you for having me here. Good evening, board members and Dr. DeGrazia. My name is Joshua Medell, and I am a senior at Whitcomb High School. It is my distinct pleasure to present the school reports this evening from a few of our schools. This is the report from LaFetra. We celebrated Wellness Week during the first week of September with special themed days and fun health and wellness activities during lunch recess breaks. Our students support specialist has been presenting character building lessons in classrooms, focusing on respect and kindness, and has opened up her wellness room during lunch periods for students to have a safe place to decompress or just to cool down and relax. The PTA is also busy planning for our annual pumpkin patch and trunk or treat celebrations next month. This is the report from Goddard Middle School. ASB held their annual welcome dance the second week of school. The theme was Space Jam. It was very well attended and the students had a great time. ASB is currently planning the Halloween dance and other festivities. The sixth graders held ASB elections to choose their grade representatives. Goddard counselors led Wellness Week with many interactive activities for the students during lunchtime. Sports are also starting up for the year. Flag football, volleyball, and cross country have all started with practices. League games will also start in September. ASB is super excited and is planning for the homecoming parade on September 23rd, which has already passed. This is the report on Sellers Elementary. Sellers school year is off to a great start for the 2022-2023 school year. PTA sponsored Scholastic Book Fair the week of August 22nd. We celebrated Wellness Week the week of September 5th. Students and staff wore tie-dye shirts, workout gear, thinking caps, and yellow to represent the week. Sellers staff and students participated in an all-school flag salute on September 9th, where the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts also helped with the festivities. Also on September 9th, PTA sponsored an ice cream social for all the students, which was a huge success. PTA also held their membership drive and reached 100% participation. And this is the report from Whitcomb. Our hardworking and very creative leadership class has been busy providing our students with various spirit days and activities since the beginning of the year. After dealing with all the health issues over the past couple of years, the students are doing everything possible along with the staff to bring back the school spirit that was present before COVID. Along these same lines, the leadership class and school counselor are currently working on Red Ribbon Week, which will be held at the end of next month. Like Wellness Week, the students and staff take this week very seriously and will really be focusing on talking with the students on an individual basis in a group setting. Leadership will also provide games, contests, and activities for all our Whitcomb students. We're also making sure the students from the newly formed SAIL program are also included in all these festivities. Mrs. Shook, the librarian, met with the coordinator of Sierra Laverne Country Club last week to discuss the possibilities of holding our prom at their facility. This is one of those events that disappeared during the pandemic, which is why we are excited about the prospect of its return. If this facility does not work out, other options include the San Dimas Country Club and Kellogg West at Cal Poly Pomona. We held our own little version of homecoming last Friday. There was not a football game, but we had a couple of activities after lunch and even crowned both a king and queen at the event. Our incredible PTA and staff even provided snacks for the event. And finally, I'm really happy to report that Whitcomb has just learned Ashley Paddock, who is also a dear friend of mine, one of the graduating seniors from last year, was accepted to Azusa Pacific University and will be attending school there in the spring. For those of you not familiar with that name, Ashley was one of our outstanding student speakers at last year's graduation ceremony. This concludes my school report. Once again, thank you for allowing me to be here.
Josh, you did a great job with that.
Thank you.
First one out of the way, good job. I also wanted to make the public aware that this is the first time we've ever had a Whitcomb School Board representative. And we're really proud and thrilled to be having a rotating Glendora High School and Whitcomb High School School Board representative. And Josh, we're going to be moving into staff presentations in a couple of minutes. And I want to let you know that you are welcome to participate in the discussion. So they're going to present, and then the board members are going to ask questions and all that kind of stuff. And we'll always do our best to say, oh, Josh, do you have any questions? But if you do have questions, or you do have a thought, or you would like to give some input from the student perspective, please, by all means, raise your hand, or turn your microphone, and because we do, that's why you're here, to represent the student constituency, and we're honored to have you here, and we'd like you to participate. Okay? Thank you. Welcome. All right, we're going to move right along to comments from members of the Board of Education. I am going to start with Mr. Ellenson.
Thank you. One of them, I just wanted to thank Mrs. Borg for something that she's brought up and been working with Mrs. Vacker on recently. Now, facilities are important to Glendora Unified, and we have very dated and aging facilities that are desperately in need of repair, and the community has not been interested in a bond measure, so you have to be creative in solutions to that, applying for grants and whatnot. And I know that Mrs. Borg and Mrs. Vacker have been working on some initiatives in that regard, and I really just want to offer my encouragement to you on doing that. You know, Mrs. Borg, with 40 years in education, knows these things to look for, and has been bringing up, let's see if there's grant money in Sacramento, let's see if there's matching funds to do, and it's possible that there are, right? It's possible that there are several millions of dollars, potentially, of matching funds that we could get from Sacramento that Mrs. Vacar is chasing down for us. So thank you for finding this possibility. Thank you, Mrs. Vacker, for moving forward on this. I hope it turns out, and I look forward, and maybe at a future board meeting, when we have some traction on this, you can give us an update on how that's coming out, because it would be nice. And I know recently with the heat wave and everything, air conditioning units have gone down and everything like that. So creative solutions like that are very helpful. Somewhat also on our facilities, was at an ROP board meeting recently and talked to board members from other neighboring school districts, in particular Azusa Unified right next door, who's in the process of closing something like 9 school sites over a few school years. One of them very hard, going from 2 high schools to 1 has been a tremendous challenge for the school district and the community over there. And I've said this before, but it's worth highlighting that I appreciate the responsible planning that we've done in Glendora Unified over many years, with enrollment that has trended up, often with district of choice, and then trended down with 70% of other public school districts in California. We haven't had to go through that here in Glendora Unified, and that's because people worked hard to sometimes bring in portable classrooms or put kids at elementary schools or middle schools and make room for them, because we know these things ebb and flow, right? We knew that a solution like district of choice is not necessarily permanent. So we prepare for that. But the past few years of declining enrollment that all of these school districts are facing, it's affecting us here too. And I think about 1 to 200 students every year declining enrollment for a few years now, 5 years now. That's 500 students, 700 students, that's a lot. It makes me think about our elementary schools. Those are typically 500 to 700 students. It's telling me that we're potentially losing, with our graduating senior classes being so much bigger than our incoming kindergarten classes, an elementary school's worth of students. So I think it probably would be prudent to look at our facilities needs, directed to Dr. DeGrazia. If you could work with Mrs. Vacker and Dr. Kelson on what are our facility needs, right? I don't want to close a school, but I think we have to be responsible. I don't want to be in a situation like other districts where you find yourself with all of this vacant site. That's not efficient at all. It's been a long time since we closed a school. It was before any of us were on the board, back in 2010 when they closed Williams. And I never quite understood that decision. I wasn't a part of that decision. Williams and Sellers, they were talking about as 2 potential sites that could close. And I know Sellers was an older site. Sellers was built as a junior high school, I believe. Sellers is very close to Cullen, and Sellers was the location of the district office. Yet Williams served a very distinct population geographically, socioeconomically, with somewhat newer facilities in a school built as an elementary school. So I was always curious about, why that happened, and I don't want, if we have to make these decisions in the future, for them to be very thoughtful and well-researched. So I don't know if any other board members will second my direction to Dr. DeGrazia to just look into the feasibility, the possibility, just start doing that work on that study to see what is our enrollment, where are we trending, what are our facilities right now, what are we going to need in the future, so that we can have some long-term planning on that. But that is all. Thank you.
I will be happy to second that, but I also believe that it's something that's in the works actually already, but I think a report out would be quite helpful that way. So second the request, certainly. All right, Ms. Borg, you're up.
Thank you. I wanted to start by congratulating Pam Edwards, and I know she's not here tonight. She's a teacher at the high school. Social science, right? Social science teacher who was selected as Glendora Unified's Teacher of the Year. And this past Friday, she was honored. Yes. Those of you that know her know what a great person she is, what a wonderful teacher she is. This last Friday, she was honored at the LA County Teacher of the Year banquet up at Universal Studios. At least that's what I've been told. And Mrs. Merkley got to attend along with Dr. DeGrazia. From there, she was selected as one of the 16 top teachers named in LA County, which is another honor, past being just the Glendora Teacher of the Year, which is a great honor. And now she's moving on to, is it the state level next?
State level competition, yep.
State level competition next. So I'm proud and happy for her as she runs a very student-centered classroom and provides all students with structured learning environment. She's wonderful. So let's and I've often been asked and told, actually, sometimes I didn't realize this, that, well, we don't respond back and forth to public comments, but this is in response to an email that I received last week on my district email, and I think all the board members received this email, but it's regarding a policy that the author calls academic transparency, which means that all student lesson outlines, in-class handouts, work pages, and work and academic books would be made available to parents on a weekly basis via an online app that could be accessed at will. Teachers already create outlines for the week, so this shouldn't be a problem. Scanning technology is inexpensive, quick, and easy. Google Docs is an option for facilitating access to these documents. And I just wanted to comment a little bit on parents' rights. Parents have multiple rights where their child's education is concerned. I would suggest that a parent start building a relationship with your child's classroom teacher by getting to know him or her first. By building a relationship with this person, you begin the process of building trust. You can also attend back to school opportunities, observe in the classrooms, join PTA, be active, serve on school site council, volunteer in the classrooms, attend your child's parent-teacher conferences, keep in touch through email, regularly check the district and site websites for current information, volunteer for district committees, check over assignments that come home to complete, and also those that are completed and graded, your child's assignments. All academic standards are available through the California Department of Education website, and that's cde.ca.gov for your viewing at your convenience. Parents also have rights to opt out of curriculum. They are welcome to view all core curricular materials by making an appointment to come to the district office and look through the items. If a parent chooses to opt out from a particular section or the entire curriculum, an alternate assignment will be given to that student. If we trust and value teachers, which I do, we trust them to teach curriculum. I have been a teacher, I have trained teachers, and GUSD teachers are trained in classroom instruction, classroom management, and are experts in their fields, with many with masters and some doctorates, and experienced in facilitating classroom instruction in its total. And I just wanted to comment on our district belief statements. Number 1 and 2, our students are our greatest priority, And number 2, all people have the right to a safe, nurturing, and secure environment. And just my response to that email. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bork. Dr. Fernando.
Yes. I just want to, again, support Mr. Ellison's, motion of that information. I think that's important. I think, unfortunately, what we have seen in higher education is that many people, have put their head in the sand around the shifting issues happening in higher education, and now many institutions are struggling dramatically because of that declining enrollment. And when the majority of school districts are declining enrollment, if we do not make difficult choices, there will be difficult repercussions for students in the end. So appreciate those thoughts. On a more positive note, I really want to just highlight the excellent work that ASB did this weekend at homecoming. I understand that there was over 1,000 students that attended. They had divided up the whole high school into different zones. Just an excellent event. My thanks for the teachers that dealt with teenagers in that environment. Props to you. And also want to just celebrate Harika Chimata, who was the homecoming queen. It's so great to see the diversity of our community coming out in leadership. That when we think of a leader, we do not think of a certain type of identity or background, as we have done in this town historically, that we're seeing a different kind of leader that is really the majority of this country now. And so Harika kind of represents who this city is and will continue to be, and she is indeed our pride of the foothills. So congratulations to her. I understand she is the student body president, the ASB president, so congratulations to her. Also want to thank the work of President Joanne Johnson, who was the president of the Teachers Association for many, many years, her and her team. Let's just say that they were dealt very difficult issues. They had to be on the crosshairs of some very contentious issues. I would say at times weren't given the benefit of the doubt, yet continued to serve their constituency very, very well. I know she had an executive team. I don't know all of them by name. I've met them. But Joanne, I know you may be watching. Thank you so much for the work that you have done. Thank you for your commitment to Glendora. Thank you for your commitment to great teaching. I know you've been a great teacher at La Fetra for years and now through Goal. So want to thank you for the great work that you've done. And also want to highlight another student of ours. I don't know his last name, unfortunately. His first name is Matthias, and he is a sophomore Glendora High School cross-country runner who really stepped in a time of need. There was a big event that happened. Apparently about 10,000 runners ran at this race at different times. And a Thousand Oaks High School student fell to the ground, got tripped, and got trampled, and actually had a concussion. And Matthias was there. He rushed to the aid of the student. He pulled the student off the course. He ensured with other individuals to make sure that the emergency personnel were notified. And we actually got an email from the student's mother thanking Matthias for his incredible leadership, for his kindness, for his integrity. The mother was very cool and collective about her son's condition. But I just want to celebrate Matthias, but also celebrate the fact that he is just one student that exemplifies who many of our students are. That when sometimes leadership is what you do when no one's looking, and Matthias didn't really have to do that. He was just an observer of a race, but he got involved and he helped somebody that was his age in a difficult situation. So I know he may be awarded something in the near future by the community, which is a great thing. So Matthias, who I'm sure is not listening, great job. We're very proud of you. Not surprised by the great work. And also want to thank the district administration, but also principals and teachers that are looking at dual learning opportunities across the district. This is something that's being done in other districts, that's been done for many, many years. We've seen it in Pasadena, we've seen it in Monrovia, and we have now people on our district staff that have been in districts where this is kind of what they've done for years. And that is something that I think is going to be very attractive to at least some of our parents. We know the benefits of bilingual education. We know the benefits of being fluent in another language, what that does to your brain, the connectivity that happens in your brain when you know another language. We know that's kind of a standard expectation in other countries around the world. And so just want to thank Dominic and his staff for the incredible work that's being done there. So that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Fernando. I will go ahead and help you out with the list of that executive team for Glendora Teachers Association. I too want to thank the work of the executive team that just rolled off from Glendora Teachers Association. As Dr. Fernando mentioned, it was a challenging couple of years. There were a lot of different MOUs that were signed with the district as far as COVID working environments. Both unions, our CSEA union and our teachers union, had to work collaboratively to move forward in the best possible direction. So with that, I'd like to thank specifically Joanne Johnson and her executive director, Eric Smith, Pam Lotz, Rana El Yusuf, Lynn Aluzzi, Derek Shires, Andrea Moncayo, and Ralph Love. Oftentimes, the work that the union does goes unnoticed. We, as the board, don't typically have any interaction with the union. That's a staff responsibility as far as negotiations are concerned, but it's a lot of hard work, and we certainly appreciate all of the hard work that you all have done over the years. Replacing them, the new president, his name is Doug Granquist, and he selected Jennifer Bell to be his executive director. The other members of his team are Danielle Gregus, Beth Gorski, Tanya Reeder, Luke Waters, Brittany Woolridge, Suzanne Dykstra, Jill Beechler, and Michelle Rigstad. So I want to welcome them and thank them for their service. Like I said, it's often unnoticed and underappreciated, but time and effort goes into that. And I wish you the best of luck. I want to thank the GHS counselors for the exceptional college and career fair that they put on last week. This is not the first year, but it is the first year back after a couple years break with the COVID. And it was extremely well attended, both by universities, technical colleges, the military, branches of military represented there. Glendora Police Department was there. I mean, it was the gymnasium was packed with opportunities for post-graduation in all different ways and making all kids feel like they can be successful upon graduation from here. So, but I can imagine it is quite an event to pull off. So I really do want to thank the counselors and any other staff members that would have been involved with that college and career fair. And echoing Dr. Fernando's words again, the GHS ASB for all the homecoming activities over the weekend, for the parade that we all had the pleasure to participate in, the football game. Congratulations on Glendora's win, of course, and again for the dance, to be able to have all those things for the students to enjoy and celebrate. I was glad to hear that Whitcomb came up with some activities to celebrate homecoming as well. It's great to be able to celebrate that way. Those are all of my comments for this evening, and we will move right along to Dr. DeGrazia's superintendent report, please.
Thank you very much, members of the board, cabinet members, distinguished guests. Josh, welcome to you. Great to have a Wickham High School representative indeed. And Mr. Doug Granquist, the new president of GTA, is in the audience, so we want to welcome him. Doug, welcome. Congratulations to you. From the college and career night that we heard about, to the homecoming activities of Glendora High School and Wickham High School, to the Teacher of the Year recognition and honors last week. It was quite a spirited week. Coming soon, however, is the end of the quarter for the school quarter on October 14th. It's not that far away. Right around the corner from that on November 4th is the end of the trimester for our elementary students. So a lot going on, a busy, impacted time. Last week I was able to attend the foundation meeting for the Glendora Education Foundation. Special thanks to them for their ongoing support, their collaborative nature as they partner with us annually. And this is nothing new. It's many, many years in the making. And they do this to ensure that our students are afforded opportunities that prepare them for future endeavors and future careers that we may not even know about currently. They have a relentless focus on helping our students become innovators, and you're going to see that support later on in the agenda when you look at their partnership they're assisting us with. And it's a new high school program, and it's called Mission 17. And it will allow one of our students' projects, a group's project, to actually go up to the ISS, the International Space Station, in the spring. So there'll be a countdown to that great event, and we appreciate their support in making something like that happen. On November 2nd, they will also hold a mixer event to announce one of the first of its kind, partnership with Glendora Unified and Garner Holt Productions out of Redlands. So just be on the lookout for that announcement and that information. Tuesday the 29th is their Giving Tuesday. That's an annual event that benefits each individual school in our district. And they anticipate, once again this year, back having a spring event. So mark your calendars more than likely for the last week in April, that week right around that location, or that time, and location to be determined. I also had the opportunity this past week to meet with the leadership of Citrus College. The president, Dr. Schultz, and their vice president of finance, Ms. Claudette Dane. We discussed our past work, our dual enrollment increase, our work with summer school for the first time ever, the collaboration last year, and our long-standing partnership with the use of the Citrus College Stadium. Dr. Schultz and his team will visit a future board meeting. They've committed to that in the next few months to give us an update on how our students are doing at Citrus College. We have a number of them that matriculate there, so they'll give us the numbers and the details and the data, how our dual enrollment is functioning, and how our summer school went, and what other programs we might consider expanding or enhancing with them in the future. So we thank Citrus for their ongoing partnership, the work that they do for Glendora kids and GUSD graduates, and we look for continued ways to enhance it going forward. This week I'll be meeting with the leadership of Azusa Pacific University to discuss the same. Safety is always an important topic and factor. Heat results in a lot of safety measures. We just need to remember for all of us, and especially our athletes, to ensure that they hydrate. And this is not just the day of the game. It's the entire week leading up to the game. We're going to have some more hot days in front of us, I'm sure, not only this week, but future weeks, I'm sure. So hydration is a piece. Awareness, the dangers of fentanyl and the tragedies that have occurred in other communities. I sent a letter out about that at the end of last week. Hope you had a chance to read it and see what resources are provided there for each individual. Cybersecurity. Ms. Vacker, talk to us a little bit about what we're doing in that area.
Yeah. Our Joint Power Authority, which is our liability insurance. So working with a network here in this local area, we've actually got a separate policy through, it's called Beasley. Beasley actually comes out, they do threat assessments with us. We ensure that our equipment is up to the standards and that there is protection things that are put in place to be able to help protect our employees as well as our students from any kind of outside cyber attacks. We really want to watch out for are some of the new sneaky attacks that happen through phishing scams that happen out there. And if you're not familiar with phishing scams, or maybe you are, and didn't even know that you're really jumping into something, clicking on certain emails that look like they are credible emails, but actually have either a something different about them, right? There's something a little bit more inside the actual language, maybe a misspelling of a name, maybe a misspelling of an entity, something that makes it look like it's real when it's really not. We continue to make sure that we put as many defenses in place to be able to help and protect our most valuable assets, our students and our employees, and most importantly, our district here, so that we're not on the back end of that. So we're working very closely with those initiatives.
Thank you very much, Ms. Backer. Safety comes in all forms, and it's also about wellness. We talked about wellness weeks last time in our wellness rooms across the district. And wellness is a daily goal. And Dr. Fernando, you mentioned the student, Matias, I believe his last name is Oliveros. And that is the student. That was another classic example of wellness. Physically taking care of someone, but taking the time, the care and concern, and it was a kudos not only to him, but the entire team. And that they gathered around, and so that parent called out not only him, but the entire Glendora cross-country team for their support, their kindness, their care, for not really being focused on the win, but the person. And so with that, and in addition, recognizing also Miss Pam Edward, our Teacher of the Year, one of the county Teachers of the Year. That's only 16 out of 66 receive that honor. One of those 16 will be chosen as one of the 5 California Teachers of the Year. So we look forward to that announcement. Wish her the best in the next level of competition. With that, that's my report, Ms. Ruder.
Thank you, Dr. DeGrazia. We're going to move along to staff presentations now, and I am thrilled to welcome Dr. Kelson and Dr. Prince up to discuss student achievement and staff support.
Thank you, Vice President Ruder, Board of Trustees, Cabinet colleagues, and esteemed community. Dr. Prince and I are presenting this evening on 2 of the, dare I say, long-standing strengths of Glendora Unified students and staff, and how we are, post-COVID, working together to increase what we are able to do and find even greater results. So with that said, we're going to be speaking this evening about 2 key things. First, we're going to provide an early update on state testing for you. And we'd also like to tell you a little bit about the work of our professional development team and the groups involved. Our update this evening will be focusing on Goal 1, Initiatives 1 and 5, and Goal 3, Initiative 3. In essence, student achievement and communication. With that said, we want to filter those lofty ideas of goals and strategic initiatives down to answers to these 2 questions. How will students, staff, and families know what our students know? And how are we supporting staff to increase student achievement? Knowledge being a part of that very thing. With that said, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, or CASP test. This is an umbrella term for many tests that fit underneath it, including the LPAC, the English Language Arts and Math tests that our students take, the California Alternative Assessment, or CA, the physical fitness test most years. In brief, the CASP is required for measuring progress at the federal, state, and local levels. It is a metric. It is driven and determined by the State Board of Education, carried out by the California Department of Education, and a very great responsibility for the Ed Services team as well as our site staffs. The expectations of testing for students and schools is conveyed through what is called the testing blueprint and also the California dashboard. It is important to note that while the dashboard is usually made available to the public sometime around Thanksgiving, this year the California Department of Education has delayed the public release of records. I would humbly predict or suggest that that delay has occurred because of some technical difficulties that were encountered in some of the systems that identify our student participants and help facilitate the taking of online tests. As soon as we have the scores available for public release, they are right now embargoed. We are unable to share them publicly. We can do some very in-house things for planning purposes, and our teams have begun to work with that in every way that we can. The state is telling us now that they will align the release of CASP with the release of the student of the dashboard. It's important to note, though, one key thing. Even though a state test that is reported, the results of which are reported to the federal government, has been delayed, our teachers and principals know what our students know and are able to do. We have a wonderful system of interim assessments based in the curriculum, and outside of it, our teachers are regularly engaging with students and checking for their understanding. Our staffs are talking about ways constantly to get better and better at what we do. That's the nature of most educators. And our student support specialists and counseling teams are checking on students and their well-being, both behaviorally and in terms of mental health. So even though we're still waiting for state CASP results, we are well aware of what our students know and are able to do in multiple ways in Glendora Unified. I'd like to turn the mic over to Dr. Prince, who's going to talk with us a little bit about the professional development work that we're doing. Dr. Prince.
Hi, thank you. So we have our Professional Development Steering Committee, which Dr. Kelson had started over the summer, and then I continued when I got back in July. And the purpose was basically we had gotten feedback in the LCAP surveys, more input on our professional development. So we had representatives from all of our school sites invited. And the objective was to influence the district's strategic plan for professional development. And in that process, we looked at the feedback. We looked at what our goals were going to be, short-term and long-term. They got into mixed grade levels, vertically articulated groups, and talked about what are your absolute priorities when it comes to our PD days? What can we not miss out on? What are some other things we haven't thought of and resources you would recommend we look into? And the group was incredibly helpful. In addition, they helped me to look at the survey that we have used in past and revise it to give us more useful data, because then this group will come back and we'll look at it again after our October 10th Professional Development Day and help use that to plan our next PD opportunities. So our fall PD day, our Professional Development Day, October 10th, so coming very quickly. This is an event that has been long-standing. I believe it was brought in 2014 by my talented predecessor, Dr. Becky Summers. And it is very much conference style. So our theme is Every Child is Known. And as those of you who know me both now and from when I was the site administrator at Goddard, that is very near and dear to my heart. Not only that we know kids academically, but we know their hearts. We get their minds too. So really happy to see that. And our keynote, so everybody comes, we have our keynote speaker. She is from Turnaround for Children, Katie Brackenridge. And she'll be talking about brain science and how our brains work to help us learn, and not only how we learn as students, but how we learn as teachers too, lifelong learners, our educators. And then there are 3 breakout sessions. Our teachers get to choose. We have in-house experts as well as outside experts who have come in. Lots of different topics that we're looking at. Emotional learning, we're looking at academic support, behavioral support, our BCBAs, our behavior specialists that we contract with, have 6 different sessions to choose from. And by the way, one of those was our #1 unanimous, you have to book her, Jen, no matter what, and we did, so that was good. And communications as well. We have talking about not only communication from how to support your students in communicating, but also how we communicate with parents, how we communicate district-wide, parent square training, making sure that we're really bringing communication not only at a district level, but also training at a site level and training our kids to be amazing communicators.
So with that said, we anticipate a few next steps that we'd invite the community to look forward to. The team will continue to monitor the release of the California dashboard and the related CASP data. We will use the feedback from all staff that participates in our PD Day exit survey, not only sharing it with our PD steering committee made up of one representative from each of our school sites, Dr. Prince and myself, but also with the principal team to look at what can we do next, not only during our professional development days, but also in our early outs at K-8 and Whitcomb, or our late start at Glendora High School. And we'll be using that information to plan future opportunities during the school year down the road in the summer of 2023, as we look to continue to focus on student achievement and how to support staff in accomplishing those very important goals. With that, it is time for questions or comments.
Just a comment. Welcome back, Dr. Prince. Nice to see you.
It's good to be back.
It's good to have you back, and all the good news that goes with it. I just want to thank you, Dr. Kelson, for your final remarks there, because that was going to be my question. What will be the follow-up with the training and the support provided for teachers and community members, and always for the better of the students? So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information in the presentation. I really want to acknowledge the process that you all are taking as in relationship to the professional development, the collaboration with the steering committee, and how it's going to pull the whole way through. I think district-wide processes are the best. So thank you for that. And I do want to just touch on something that Dr. Kelson said, and I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, but I'm not worried. You talked about how we don't have to necessarily worry about the results from the CASP and how it's going to be delayed. I read sometime in the spring, because our teachers really do know their kids and know what they need to work on. But we also, as a district, acknowledge that scores could be lower. There can be some learning loss after the last couple of years that we've experienced. And we did a few things in order to help support our teachers and our students that way. I do know that there is a intervention specialist at all 5 elementary schools, 1 per elementary school, so that they're helping with math and English, probably more, but specifically that. Can you remind me what the structure looks like as far as the secondary schools and intervention is concerned? Not down to a level of detail, but at kind of a high level that way.
I can, yes. So we have a number of targeted interventions in place and a number of additional opportunities where students or families can self-select. So there are some examples of interventions that students are scheduled into. Math support classes, English language arts support classes. Some of those are casually called part of SAI for some of our students. There are also opportunities for kids to make up courses through online credit recovery at the high school level, or some of our summer school offerings. And I always like to say, or to participate in our early college program, which in some ways opens up schedules for kids to do other things. In addition to those, we have a number of self-selected or family-selected and directed interventions. We have partnerships with Paper Education, a tutoring service at the K-8. We have a partnership with tutor.com at the high school. Our public library has a wonderful array of tutoring support and resources available to students in Glendora, and probably kids who can find access to the website around the country and world. And in cases like that, the self-selection is only part of the process. Our counselors, our student support specialists are regularly checking in with our students, with their families, our case carriers for students who have IEPs or 504 plans, so that we know as much as we can early on what it is our students need. I must say one other thing. Any teacher whom I have ever worked with has to have an understanding of what their students know and are able to do. And what usually happens when kids are doing well, we hope that kids will get recognized, that they will receive a call home or a text or a note a positive comment and a report card. I know that many times our teachers are the ones who reach out to their site administrator, a student support specialist, a counselor, a colleague in a professional development and say, you know, I need help with this, or does anyone have resources for that? And that informal yet vitally important part of being in education has to be mentioned as a part of the interventions that are in place. I hope I mentioned what you were looking to hear. You did. Okay. And I knew you would. Okay.
Does anybody else have any other comments or questions at this time? Thank you both for that. Wait a minute, Josh. Okay, sorry. Can't let you down on your first night. Thank you both very much. Thank you, Jen. Okay, we're moving right along to our discussion action items. Item number 6.1, Board Policy Revisions, BP 6158, Independent Study for First Read. It says here no action will be taken. Dr. Kelson, do you want to, is this something that you can
Briefly
comment on a little
summarize.
bit?
Certainly, yes. So a recent state law passed, Assembly Bill 181, updating some of the provisions provided during the COVID-19 pandemic tied to a law called AB 130. What I would say succinctly for purposes of the trustees' consideration this evening is that in brief, the state has changed the number of days a family must sign the agreement for their student to be an independent study. They have changed some of the expectations of the length of time a student can be on short-term independent study. And they have reminded school districts and charter schools of the significance of ensuring that students who are on independent study are engaged. There's a little less flexibility in terms of how often those check-ins and that monitoring system of intervention is required.
Can I ask you a question just for the public? When you're talking independent study, are you talking about a vacation and kids are getting work, or are you talking about permanent, kind of more of a permanent setting?
Thank you for asking. Both is the answer. So there's a program called Short-Term Independent Study. That is the part of the law that's changed. There's a limit to that in AB 101 to 15 school days. In addition to that, what we have traditionally called independent study, starting in 2019, is now mostly housed under our Glendora Online Academy of Learning, or GOAL program. That is a program that families can choose to participate in, and we strongly recommend, for the good of the students involved and continuity of access to the curriculum, that students participating do that for the entire school year, if not at least a trimester or a semester. We try to keep students with the regular Glendora curriculum as, you know, tied to the state standards. However, sometimes teachers change pace a little bit, but that's what we used to know as kind of a long-term independent study program.
I recognize that this is a first read on this, but I do believe that we have the ability to waive the second reading and move forward. I can tell you that as the parent of an independent study student, our district is on top of these, the guidelines or the board policy that are in there. I wish Mr. Letourneau hadn't left, because I would toot his horn a little bit that he really is on top of it, and these goal teachers are already operating well within the letter of this law. So I move that we forego the second reading and approve the policy into our board revisions.
Yes.
I move.
Second.
Okay, any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. No opposed? The board policy revision BP 6158. Yes. You moved?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I moved, he
I
seconded.
Sorry.
I knew what I was meaning. We move forward. Thank you very much, unanimously. 6.2, approve/ratify the renewal of the Memorandum of Understanding with California Partnership for Achieving Student Success, Cal Pass Plus, as presented. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Ellenson?
Second.
Dr. Fernando? Dr. Kelson? Is this you?
Yes, it is. Thank you. So the CalPAS Memorandum of Understanding allows the district to participate in a guided pathways project. Please hear career technical education, specific to accounting for how many of our students are participating in career pathways at the high school level, as well as data about which pathways they are participating in. There is some minor data reporting work that will be done by members of the Education Services team. Otherwise, the benefits are when I hear the charge to see to it that students have access to even more innovative facilities. Part of the grant funding that we're looking to use for that innovation comes from one of these two career technical education grant streams, this one being the Strong Workforce Program grant. So it's really an important formality that districts across the state have the opportunity to take advantage of as part of data reporting and even greater access to those programs.
Any questions?
I had thought that Strong Workforce Program had been kind of, at least in community colleges, hadn't that been closed or that been, no, it's still operating? Okay. Annually? Still funded. Okay, sorry.
It's a good point of clarification, though, because it lends itself to the fact that our elected officials in the state of California decide whether or not this funding continues, and the data reporting that we're doing is helping make that happen.
Yeah, and that's actually funded out of the state chancellor's office, that particular grant.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous approval. Moving on to 6.3, approve/ratify the Consultant National Center for Earth and Space Science Space Science Education, Mission 17, as presented. Can I have a motion? Dr. Fernando?
Second.
Ms. Borg. This is exciting. Mrs. Vicar, do you want to talk to us about Mission 17?
I actually don't, but I know Dr. Kelson.
You do. I beg your pardon.
You were mission 16.
Actually, you're going to be 18 also, so get ready.
I'm getting ready right now.
Okay, beg your pardon.
Your mission may be to infinity and beyond. We're still checking. With that said, thank you, Dr. DeGrazia, for your comments about the Mission 17 project. I'm very grateful to Glendora High School science teacher, Mr. Jimmy Liao, engaging students in participation, and it cannot go without saying Dr. Brummett for helping to make that happen. So as a science component, it may have an art component, and we're very grateful to GEF and the broad community of donors for helping to make this happen.
Does anybody have any questions? I do. How many, help me understand if this is like a club, if this is a class, how many students get to participate, kind of.
Thank you. So it is both. Mr. Liao is bringing the curriculum into his natural science class where the state and national next generation science standards call for learning about space. He is also making it available to students in an after-school club, and my thanks to our ASB and Mrs. Clune for putting that word out. So we must have a representative sample of student projects. 20 some is a minimum to submit from small groups. And there will be a local panel that judges the student projects. There's a really solid rubric. It's got to be consistent across the country. And then our 3 top local projects will be vetted for their safety and viability on the International Space Station. And then the launch officially occurs after any adjustments or vetting is completed. We won't know the outcome of the student competitions until probably after this school year ends.
However, it's a wonderfully exciting thing for kids to be able to think about an anti-gravity context and how that does or doesn't impact the science that I like to say that we do. It's not just about learning science, it's doing science. So really excited to see what our students will create and come up with.
Yeah, I'm sure we would all love to hear from those students along the way. That's for sure. So thank you very much for that information. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item 6.4, approve, ratify the memorandum of understanding for the Career Technical Education Incentive Grant, CTIG, as presented. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Borg?
Second.
Dr. Fernando? Now, I would think that this is Mrs. Vicar.
This is gonna be a combination.
Okay, great. Excellent.
So what I can share with you is that this is just the preliminary piece. Later on, once the grant is awarded, we will be coming back with you with a grant award and how the money will be spent. So there are plans being made, and thank you very much to our Ed Services partner in helping with that. And we've been working very closely with the ROP to identify new and exciting pathways that will help and support our students based on the presentation that you saw about 2 months ago.
Thank you to our partners in business as well. And it's really a regional project involving our San Gabriel Valley ROP and many others. This particular funding stream comes from the California Department of Education, the pre-K through 12 branch of educational policy and implementation.
Mr. Allenson, do you have anything to add?
Of course, on this one, just grateful to Dr. Kelson and Mrs. Vicar working together on this. It was laughing about it coming up, but it's actually a great feature of the administrative team that you have, Dr. DeGrazia, that they work together on this. And some things that are predominantly Ed Services, you'll lean on your colleagues in other departments, and vice versa, to make sure you're bringing the best people at this. And with our CTE, Career Tech Ed pathways, everyone here has been working very collaboratively on this and brought forward ideas that none of us could have thought of, outside of you being in education. So I appreciate that, looking at pathways to incorporate a Glendora High School based on existing student interest, as well as labor market data, supporting the San Gabriel Valley ROP the way that you both have done to make sure they can deliver high quality career tech ed programs and pathways. That's important. Career tech ed has been a priority of mine from the very beginning, and it's interesting, it was not one that I personally experienced. It was not my pathway to my powerful future when I was a Glendora High School student at all. But when you start talking to constituents on day one, you realize how many people in this community value career technical education and want those alternative career paths available to all students here in Glendora Unified. So it's very important that we don't just support things based on our personal preferences or our personal experiences, but to think about what is best for every student in Glendora Unified, not just what your kids experienced or what you experienced or whatever. And going and speaking to your constituents is certainly one way of doing that and hearing very clearly. So I just appreciate that work on that. I know people that sat in, prior assistant superintendents of Ed Services may not have had that same approach, right? They may have come from a place of, here's why we can't do it. Here's a million reasons no, right? That personal agenda from prior people in that role is not going to move the district forward at all. It's not looking at, what everyone wants to do. It's personal pet projects or personal agendas. And I don't see any of that in the administrative team that's working for us here today. So you're just fortunate, Dr. DeGrazia, that you have that that support and that you've been leaning into that as well. I appreciate you coming to the ROP meeting and supporting Career Tech Ed pathways and finding them outside of traditional ways as well. I mean, some of the things that you're working on with animatronics and Garner Holt and aviation and everything else, all these other potential things, you're finding them in sort of places you wouldn't expect. So thank you both for doing that. That's all.
I too would like to piggyback on what Mr. Ellenson said about the collaboration between fiscal and Ed Services, because that's a grant. You know, things that we don't expect to always receive in Glendora. So thank you for both working together and getting this funding for our students.
With that, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Item 6.5, approve/ratify the Strong Workforce Program Grant Application Statement of Assurance as presented. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Fernando, Mr. Ellenson. Who am I looking at?
I'll do it.
Great, thank you, Dr. Kelson.
So you may recall in item 6.2, the mention of the CalPAS Memorandum of Understanding for Data Collection. This item 6.5 is the district's assurance that we will partner with our San Gabriel Valley Regional Occupational Program to apply for and, if received, carry out that next round of Strong Workforce Program funding.
Clarification. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We now move on to our consent items, and the Board of Education may consider agenda consent items as a whole or as individual divisions. Any item may be removed by a member of the Board of Education for discussion and possible action. Would anybody like to pull any consent items out? May I have a motion to approve all consent items?
So moved.
Thank you. It was motioned by Ms. Borg and seconded by Dr. Fernando. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Approved all consent items. Finally, we move to item 12 of our meeting, the adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, Dr. Fernando, thank you. I don't know that we all want to stay. Okay, Ms. Borg, thank you very much. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. This meeting is adjourned at 8:24.